Hey, thank you for being part of this worship experience by video from the Open Table Church. I'm Dale Likens. I'm the pastor of this inclusive, open, affirming congregation in the Mason-Landon area of northern Cincinnati. If you'd like more information about our congregation, I encourage you to go to our website, theopentablechurch.org. You can click on the Contact tab, and you'll see our phone number as well as email, and there's a short form that you can enter some information about yourself and any questions that you have, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Many in our congregation are part of missional communities that meet every other week or so in our neighborhoods through the week. You can also find information about those on the homepage in the gathering section. Click missional communities, and there will be further information about what happens in missional communities, as well as who leads them and how often they meet. And we would love to have you go there, fill out that form, and we will get back to you and try to connect you. And so I encourage you to do that and to be part of learning more about how to live your faith in everyday ways in everyday life.
O God, your presence in daily life is a delight. You give us eyes to see holy moments in ordinary things, in the bustle of getting children to school or to do their work at home, in the conversation with a colleague whose daughter had cancer, on the phone when we ask an aging parent, "How are you today?" in traffic when you prompt us to make room for a merging car. Thank you for not allowing us to devalue the small things. Thank you for giving us eyes to see that life is made up of small things, and for allowing grace to merge into the stream of eating, bathing, working, touching, and resting. Thank you for your presence in every moment of our lives. Amen.
So I just finished working out in my yard, and I thought, well, I need to clean up, and then I'm going to record the sermon. But then I thought, well, I'm talking about work today, so you're just going to get me in my outside work mode clothing. I have always been one of those people who likes Monday mornings. There is something about the new week and getting all of it started that just brings me energy. So I'm one of those people that enjoys getting to the office, or now just getting to the tasks of a new week on a Monday. And I am very aware that many people are not like that. For many people, Mondays are like my dad used to call them, Blue Mondays. The thought of going back to work is just not all that life-giving to some people. If you are a Blue Monday person, and maybe you're not, but you've still never thought about your work in the ways that I'm going to introduce to you today, I want to ask you, what is it that keeps you from shouting, "Thank God it's Monday," with the same enthusiasm you might have said just 2 days before, "Thank God it's Friday"? Well, has anyone ever asked you to consider that when work is done with an enlarged perspective, that it is part of prayer? That work is an important part of your faith journey, that it's a big part of who you are as a disciple of Jesus and of your connection with what God is doing in the world. You see, I believe work is prayer when a letter is sent in response to a request, when a phone call is returned, when food is cooked to sustain life, when repairs are made on a refrigerator, when unhealthy conditions are corrected, when vaccinations are given, when waste is recycled, when surgery is performed. I believe work is prayer when it provides a loan for a family to purchase a home, when creeks and rivers are cleaned of trash. If all of life belongs to God, and it does, we are told in the scriptures, then our work in the world, at home or outside of the home, in our neighborhood or even our own yard, then our work in the world is a way we talk to God, the way that we acknowledge God, and thus it is prayer. Through work, we show our concern for the world in which we live. Through work, we show our concern and care for other humans who share this world with us. Through work, we show our care for the earth itself. And through it all, we honor the Creator of it all.
The story of creation. In the beginning, when God created the universe, the earth was formless and desolate. The raging ocean that covered everything was engulfed in total darkness, and the Spirit of God was moving over the water. Then God commanded, "Let there be light," and light appeared. God was pleased with what he saw. Then he separated the light from the darkness, and he named the light day and the darkness night. Evening passed and morning came. That was the first day. Then God commanded, "Let there be a dome to divide the water and to keep it in two separate places." And it was done. So God made a dome, and it separated the water under it from the water above it. He named the dome Sky. Evening passed and morning came. That was the second day. Then God commanded, "Let the water below the sky come together in one place, so that the land will appear." And it was done. He named the land Earth, and the water which had come together he named Sea. And God was pleased with what he saw. Then he commanded, "Let the earth produce all kinds of plants, those that bear grain and those that bear fruit." And it was done. So the earth produced all kinds of plants, and God was pleased with what he saw. Evening passed, and morning came. That was the third day.
Then God commanded, "Let lights appear in the sky to separate day from night and to show the time when days, years, and religious festivals begin. They will shine in the sky to give light to the earth," and it was done. Evening passed and morning came. That was the fourth day. Then God created the great sea of monsters, all kinds of creatures that live in the water, and all kinds of birds. And God was pleased with what he saw. Evening passed and morning came. That was the fifth day. Then God commanded, "Let the earth produce all kinds of animal life, domestic and wild, large and small," and it was done. So God made them all, and he was pleased with what he saw. Then God said, "And now we will make human beings. They will be like us and resemble us." God looked at everything he made, and he was very pleased. Evening passed and the morning came. That was the sixth day.
Through our work, we keep stable the fabric of the world and our prayers in the practice of our trade. Would it be possible for us to see our work in a new light if we connected our work to our discipleship and our stewardship? What would happen if we took seriously the holy of everyday work? What would happen in workplaces across the country, the places where we followers of Jesus, along with everybody else in the world, likely spend a great deal of our time every day? What would happen in those workplaces if we thought of our work as part of our praise to God, or our worship, or our mission? What would happen if we expected the Holy Spirit to be present? Would it bring meaning to otherwise mundane tasks? Perhaps the key to recovering our sense of mission and purpose in our work is to understand that our work is our participation in the work of God, and that we are partners in God's redemptive work in the world. We worship God through our work when we listen to coworkers and neighbors, family members, show concern for what individuals are experiencing, what difficulties they are going through. Or that can happen when we're sensitive to cultural and ethnic and racial differences in the workplace and even in our neighborhoods, and acknowledge the challenges that we each bring to our work community and celebrate the diversity that enriches that community. We can see our work, whatever it is, as contributing to God's creation. Working in a factory that makes parts for tractors is creation. Putting paint on a house which provides shelter is creation. Writing news stories in a sensitive and caring way is creation. Providing facilities in which persons care for their bodies is creation. Calling forth the gifts of others through management or supervision is creation. Finding the holy in our work goes a long way in helping us get out of bed with hope and purpose, even if we're just getting out of bed to go to our home office or the dining room table, which is our makeshift office. And finding that holy in our work can keep us going when, like now, there's a lot of reason just to stay under the covers. So the place to begin developing a theological understanding of work is the book of Genesis. You see, in this story of creation, actually both the stories recorded in Genesis 1 and the story in Genesis 2, we learn that God is a creative worker and that our own work has value and that it mirrors God's creativity. If you read that story, and you heard a shortened version of it today in the rest of this video, notice how productive God is. God begins with a brainstorm, saying, "Let there be light." And there is light. And then God separates the light from the darkness. God behaves like a benevolent boss giving the orders. Let the earth put forth vegetation. Let there be lights in the sky. God works like a cosmic craftsperson, making the sun and the moon, creating the great sea monsters, forming wild animals, and finally making humankind. And in the story in Genesis 2, God plays in the dirt in that story, like a child playing with Play-Doh. You can imagine God rolling out purple snakes and using the cosmic fun factory to make all kinds of different shapes. And then you'll notice that humans are immediately, once they're created, it does not take long for them to be given work to do. Have you ever noticed that before? You see, work is not a curse-related activity, even though on Monday morning it can feel like that. Work is intended to be a blessing-related activity. Work does not need to be the enemy. We do not need to approach work 40 hours each week waiting to retire, so we can then experience God's creative intention for us. When I was at United Methodist Church of the Resurrection a few years ago at their Leadership Institute, well, actually it may have been on my renewal leave that I took in 2018, I was sitting at a table for a meal with a group of people, and one of the men there had recently retired, and he said this. I actually wrote it down because I was struck by the phrase. He said, "Until you retire, you really don't have time for church work." And my mind went all kinds of places, and I thought today, actually what he said was absolutely spot on. No one has time for church work until you retire. However, you do have time to live on mission when it's part of how you see your everyday life, wherever you are, just going about your way.
You may not know me now, but I have been around. You'll never see my name on any pages. I'm just the common man, the fool who understands the pain you go through when life takes you under. So sing for the common man, a song for the common man. He paid for the song with the sweat of his brow. He will survive. He will survive. You may not know my mother, my sisters or my brothers, yet everyone has given for the other. You know the working man, he builds what others plan, so every one of us should sing his story. So sing for the common man, a song for the common man. He paid for the song with the sweat of his brow. He will survive. He will survive. Day after day, he keeps working away in offices, factories, and farms. And year after year, he sheds tear after tear. He will provide. He will survive. So sing for the common man, a song for the common man. He paid for the song with the sweat of his brow. He will survive. He will survive. So sing for the common man, a song for the common man. He paid for this song with the sweat of his brow. He will survive. He will survive.
All of us are created in God's image, created to be creators ourselves. Like God, we're to bring order out of chaos and make things that are good. Whether we roll tortillas or install telephones in businesses, teach students in person or online, or write software, manage finances, or manufacture farm equipment, or volunteer in our retirement years, or babysit our grandkids. We share in God's creative efforts. We take our prayers into the world wherever we go. We create marvelous things along with the Lord who created us. The goal of Monday is not survival to the next weekend. The goal of our work is to bring order out of chaos, as I said, to mirror what God has done with us. Work without worshipful purpose would be an incomplete response to God. We gather as God's people to celebrate the gospel and to remind ourselves of who we are and how we connect to God's story. And then we scatter to enact the gospel and that story of God and ours in the world.